Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. See ebaymotors.com.
Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Last year, they went and took it.
He struck him out looking.
This year,
the Texas Rangers win the World Series.
They're here to run it back.
It's over.
This is Believe in Texas Rangers, hosted by Mitch Ferreldis.
We have reached the end of the gauntlet. Welcome into another edition of Believe in Texas Rangers, everybody. If you like what you're listening to, be sure to rate 5 stars, like, subscribe, tell your friends, and check out the YouTube channel as well if you're listening via audio. If you're watching on YouTube, find it wherever you get your podcasts. Now, we're going to recap this Sunday night affair, which led to a Rangers 6-4 win over the Braves. It was very shaky towards the end, admittedly so, but the Rangers do escape with the win, and they salvage what has been a grueling, I think grueling would be the proper word, 17-game gauntlet that they have just completed before their first off day since tomorrow. So we're talking about Sunday night's game here, recording this on Sunday. And this finally was the one where they did not get punished by Travis d'Arnaud. More on him in just a second. But more importantly, this was one where the Rangers offense kind of looked like itself again. And they got another quality outing out of Michael Lorenzen, which was super important because there was intention with how Bruce Bochy approached his pitching plan on Saturday, but I think it caught a lot of like us media and maybe even the fans by surprise what they did. And now they're set up for, you know, even the potential return of Max Scherzer. That's the other thing that we have to tease that we'll talk more about later. But focusing just on the game for right now. 6-4 win. And as I mentioned, we got a lot of what we liked out of Lorenzen. And it resulted in another Kirby Yates 4-out save, which he had already had one earlier in the week against the Tigers. And he's now kind of settled into that role where he's basically become the team's closer now. You got an inning and change out of David Robertson. So with everything that this bullpen has had to go through in this 17-game stretch, you were able to get the most out of your 2 highest leverage relievers in the final game of the series against one of the best teams in the National League who just lost their 6th game of the year. Like, Atlanta is easily one of the better teams in the league, and Texas got the best of them, which is what they needed to do. And it didn't start that way. Atlanta has very much been the aggressor in this series. They scored 3 runs in the bottom of the first, and you're thinking, oh, goodness, not this again. We don't need Friday night's disaster again. And somehow Lorenzen was able to shake off all of that. He actually had a really better line in comparison to his first outing. 6 innings, 3 hits, 3 earned, struck out 7, walked 3. The 3 walks is a little concerning, especially given how the rest of the week has gone when it comes to walks. Walks has very much been a sticking point of this pitching staff in the past few games. But quality outing, and you only needed to use 2 relievers out of the bullpen. I call that a win. Evan Carter had a fantastic game at the plate, 2 for 4, a couple of runs. He had the home run, his 3rd of the year. Adolis Garcia also had one of his own. He drove in 2 runs in total, both of them coming on the home run. He finished 2 for 4 as well. Adolis is starting to really settle in now. Ever since the day off against Detroit, after he had been scuffling at the beginning of the Detroit series, I want to say. Or, no, hold on. Let me look back at the schedule real quick. It was he was kind of scuffling towards the end of that Houston series and the beginning of that Detroit series where it was, oh my gosh, what happened to Adolis? And then he gets a day off on the day that they lose 4-2, I should say. And since then, Adolis has been on an absolute tear. He's looking like Adolis again, and that's all you can hope for, especially when he's hitting out of the middle of the order, and especially with some of the other hitters in the lineup struggling right now. And then shout out to Andrew Kisner, who had easily the biggest hit of the game, a 3-run homer, which allowed or gave Texas the lead in the top of the 4th inning, I should say. And the Rangers never looked back once they got that lead. There were some scary moments, I'm going to admit. Adolis diving for a fly ball and he wasn't able to get, and the ball gets passed. And next thing you know, you're thinking, oh gosh, what's happening here? And then the very next batter, I want to say that was Michael Harris. No, it was Austin Riley. Sorry. He hits a ball to the right side of the infield. And the way that Marcus Semion's playing, he's playing over the top of second base. And Nathaniel Lowe's playing well off of first. And Lowe retreats to first. And Semien darts to second. And thus the ball just creeps into right field. Thankfully, nobody scored. And double thankfully, Robertson and Yates were able to pitch out of the mess. But just a couple of moments where you start to pull your hair out, I guess would be the proper term, or you get really nervous, or you get on the edge of your seat, start chomping your nails, whatever it is you do. Don't chomp your nails if you do. But for the most part, the offense performed very well today. They had 11 hits in total. I mentioned the 6 runs. They only worked 1 walk. Leody Taveras with a patient appearance in this one. This was a complete game for the Rangers, and they needed it, given just how long of a stretch this has been. And also, given how much they had been beaten up, in particular by Travis d'Arnaud in the first couple of games of this series. So in Friday's contest, Travis d'Arnaud hit his second career 3-home run game. Those 3 home runs were also the first 3 home runs of his 2024 campaign. This is also the second time this year that the Rangers have been the victim of a 3-homer game. There's only been 3 home run games in 2024. 2 of them have come against the Rangers, both of them in this 17-game stretch, obviously. The one being Shea Langoliers in the A's win over the Rangers a couple of weeks ago, and then the other one Friday night when Travis d'Arnaud powered the Braves to their 8-3 win on Friday. And then Saturday, he became a menace again. No, he didn't hit 3 home runs, but he was 1 for 1 with a 2-run homer, scored twice, walked twice. He made himself a problem for the Rangers. And thankfully, they didn't have to worry about him on the next night because the Braves are dealing with an injury to Sean Murphy when it comes to their catching core right now. So Travis d'Arnaud really is their lead man. But man, what a rough time to have his breakout series if you're a Rangers fan or if you're a Rangers player or pitcher. Of all the guys in the Braves lineup that you would have expected to torment you this series, Travis d'Arnaud was absolutely not the first person that would have come to mind when I thought tormentor on the Braves. I mean, their top 5, Ronald Acuna Jr., the reigning MVP, Michael Harris II, who normally hits 9th for them, but that's just because of a luxury factor. He's hitting 298 after today on the year. Austin Riley, Matt Olson, who led the league in home runs last year, Marcell Ozuna, who's on an absolute tear to start the year. He has 9 home runs and 27 RBIs in the team's first 20 games of the year, which says a lot about how well he's performing. And he's hitting .338. And then on top of that, they have Orlando Arcia, who's an all-star from last season. Jared Kelenic, who's looked very competent in his new role with his new team. I mentioned d'Arnaud. They're missing Sean Murphy. They're missing Ozzie Albies. Like, this is a team that you would have expected, if you're going to get beat by them, you do not expect to get beaten by Travis d'Arnaud, and they absolutely did, which is just crazy. I'm glad that they don't have to deal with him anymore. That's the only time they're going to see the Braves this year, unless they meet at the very end. Let's talk about something else that happened, particularly in Game 2. So Nate Eovaldi got the start, and he pitched. It wasn't a quality start because he didn't finish 6 innings, but it was quality. It was a quality outing, and he threw over 100 pitches. 5 1/3 innings, 5 hits, 3 earned. He struck out 6. He was able to get the swing and miss going. He got that 16 times against the Braves. But, he wasn't getting a ton of offensive help. The Braves scored 3 runs in the bottom of the second and then didn't score again. The Rangers scored 2 runs in the top of the second, didn't score again. Against Eovaldi, I should clarify. They didn't score again against Eovaldi. The Braves would score again later. First man out of the pen on that Saturday game was Jon Gray. Now, to defend Boch, he had said he even teased before the game, I should say, that I'm trying to find the exact quote. He said, "I have a surprise," which is to emphasize just how much this bullpen has had to be used over a 17-game stretch. In 17 days, I might add. And the first guy out of the pen was Jon Gray after Nate Eovaldi. And he came in the 6th inning and then pitched the 7th inning as well. And he pitched very well. Let's not bury the lead. Inning and 2/3, he struck out 4. So of the 5 outs that he got, 4 of them were strikeouts on 24 pitches. No runs, no hits allowed. It was a very good outing for Jon Gray. But what does it mean? Does it mean anything more than he just came in a spot relief appearance because, man, our pitchers have been tired and Jon Gray was rested enough that we feel comfortable to throw him? So after the game, Bochy, said that the plan was for Jon Gray to come out of the bullpen the entire time. Quote, "We had the flexibility with the day off," meaning the day off that's upcoming tomorrow. "So he was fresh, and it just made sense to have him available," Bochy said. And they called up Jack Leiter, and that ended up being more so of a spot start. He immediately got sent down. We'll talk more about that later. But Jon Gray was, technically speaking, well-rested. He's the next man up in the rotation after Eovaldi, after the injury to Cody Bradford, because they put Lorenzen essentially in the Bradford spot and then slotted Eovaldi back a day, and now he's lined up with Jon Gray. So I think we should still expect Jon Gray to get the start on Tuesday. I don't think they've officially announced the starters yet. We'll probably see that tomorrow on Monday. So maybe after the recording this, they've decided who's going to start the first game against the Mariners. But if we're thinking about this in long view terms, and we'll get more specifically into Max Scherzer rehabbing in a bit, but Max Scherzer is going to start a rehab assignment soon. Cody Bradford can't possibly be that far away on the 15-day injured list. He's only got a few more days left on his stint. You're not going to get Tyler Mahle back anytime soon, nor Jacob deGrom, but you're getting 2 major starting pitching reinforcements back. Josh Sborz, I believe, is also about to start a rehab assignment, so you're going to get him back too. Is there a chance that Jon Gray becomes the casualty of too many men in the rotation? Because I think it's clear that Michael Lorenzen's going to keep his spot. Nate Eovaldi, you're not going to move. Dane Dunning has pitched well enough this year that he's probably staying put. Jack Leiter, he was there, but now he's back in the minor leagues. I don't think he'll be called up again anytime soon. If I'm wrong about that again, this is where you can bookmark that. But when Cody comes back, now you're back to the original 5 that you started the year with, except for Lorenzen. And then you get Scherzer back. Well, somebody's going to be the odd man out, but could they move out Jon Gray and they move him out for a positive reason, which is to say you make him a valuable bullpen piece, a valuable bullpen arm? It's going to be a tough sell to Jon, especially because he started to get back into a rhythm. He's starting to locate his pitches a lot better. He's starting to get that mix back, kind of how he looked when he was with the Rockies, where he had a really good pitch mix and that forced a lot of strikeouts. He's starting to look like that, at least in this small sample size of not only his start against Detroit a few days ago, but this relief outing against Atlanta. Would it almost benefit the Rangers if Jon Gray were to come out of the bullpen as opposed to in the rotation? Because again, you'll have Nate Eovaldi, Michael Lorenzen, Cody Bradford when he's ready to go soon, Max Scherzer when he's ready to go soon, And I think that Dane Dunning is going to get that final spot for right now. Andrew Heaney, I don't know what they're going to do with him. They have him for now, but he's not performing well enough to remain in the rotation. Like last year in the postseason, he didn't remain in the rotation. He was one of three options that could have been the fourth starter in that group, because they had Max Scherzer, they had Nate Eovaldi, they had Jordan Montgomery, and then that fourth spot could have been anyone between Heaney, Dunning, and Jon Gray. So if I were to guess, in the next couple of weeks when some of these guys get healthy again, I think Andrew Heaney is going to be a casualty of that. And I think Jon Gray is going to be a casualty of that too, but not for negative reasons. I think because they're going to truly find value in him in a bullpen spot. And maybe that'll be the best for Jon as well. So that was the big story coming out of Saturday. Interesting to see how it goes from here.
Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. See ebaymotors.com.
Also big on Saturday. I haven't mentioned this yet, but Nathaniel Lowe is back with the club. He started in the Saturday and the Sunday game. So far on the season, he's got his first 2 hits out of the way. He scored a run today, referring to the Sunday game. In the Saturday game, he walked once and scored as a result of that walk, but he went 0 for 3. But I think they benefit from having him back in the order. I think where a lot of people were surprised was Jared Walsh getting designated for assignment as a result. And this isn't to say Jared Walsh performed amazing in his time while he was called up with the Rangers. He made a statement in his first start of the season when he hit the home run and almost had the cycle in that first game for Texas. But in 53 at-bats, the stats are what they are. He hit .226, a home run, 7 driven in, and a .638 OPS. And I wonder if he was just a casualty, given that Nathaniel Lowe is also a left-handed hitting first baseman. And they value Nathaniel Lowe to this lineup a little more than they value Jared Walsh. They want the platoon aspect with Ezekiel Duran, who hits left-handed pitching a lot better from the right side of the plate and can play a little bit first base. He could put it in corner outfield spot, corner infield. It doesn't matter. It is a bummer to see him go, because I thought Jared played really, really well in the spring and well enough to be able to maintain a spot on this roster. And, you know, sometimes this is just the business aspect of baseball. Is it doesn't always work out. But I hope that Jared, either should he decide to stay and be a part of the AAA Round Rock squad, that he keeps his head up and maybe finds his way back up to the bigs, or he gets acquired by someone and he finds his way onto that big league roster instead and continues to carry out his career. Another aspect that came from Nathaniel Lowe returning, and I think we could look at this 2 different ways. So why don't we get to this aspect of the show right now?
Wyatt Watch.
So on Friday, Wyatt hit third, played in left field. He went 1 for 4 and scored a run in the 8-3 loss. On Saturday, he was dropped all the way in the order to 7th. Now, there's 2 ways we could look at this. I think the simplest way to look at it is Nathaniel Lowe was back in the lineup, and they had a very comfortable idea of how they wanted to set the order with Nathaniel in it. So Marcus Semien, Corey Seager, Evan Carter, Adolis Garcia, Nathaniel Lowe. That's a pretty good 5. But he was also hitting behind Josh Smith, who we applauded on the last podcast, and deservedly so. He's had a great start to his season. He's done great filling in for the injured Josh Young, and has continued to do great for the injured Josh Young. Do we overreact in any sort of way to the fact that Wyatt is now hitting 7th in this order? I would vote no. I understand that the statistics are not keeping up with the hype necessarily right now. I'm as anxious as anybody for him to hit his first home run. Maybe he'll hit it against the Mariners. He needs the natural day off, and then they're going to come home and they're going to spank the Mariners in 3 games or something like that. We'll see old friend Mitch Garver, and Wyatt Langford's going to hit his first home run of his career. Maybe it'll happen. I don't know. The fact that he's hitting 7th in this order, I do think a little bit of it is the fact that his statistics are not keeping up right now. And not all of it is his fault. I will point out this too. Shout out to Bryce Paterick, who covers the Rangers with Locked On Rangers. If you don't follow Bryce, follow him. He's really good at what he does too. He pointed out a tweet from Codify Baseball, if many of you are familiar with it. And this is from April 19th. So maybe the stat has adjusted a bit, but it stood out to me. It definitely stood out to Bryce. Wyatt Langford has 15 out of the zone pitches called strikes against him this year, and that leads all MLB hitters. So, but what does that mean, Mitch? Well, it means that Angel Hernandez's infamous 3 straight strikes against Wyatt Langford outside the zone still stand to this day for some reason. And the other part of it is Wyatt Langford is not getting the benefit of pitches that are outside the zone being called balls. As a matter of fact, he's getting the most pitches that are balls called strikes against him so far this year. And to Bryce's argument, Bryce Paterick with Locked On Rangers, he's wondering, but why is it Wyatt Langford raking yet? Maybe this is why. So I think it goes both ways because as we've said a bunch, the approach is good from Wyatt. The ability to make bat to ball contact is good from Wyatt. He really hit a peak early in the season in terms of the way he was producing. And I think this 17 game stretch just really got the most of him. If I'm not mistaken, he's only gotten 1 day off in this entire stretch as I'm working to pull up the game logs right now. But you can also see the statistics start to dip as the game window shrinks. In his last 7, he has 5 hits in 26 at-bats. In his last 15, he has 14 hits. So that's about a hit per game, but it's 58 at-bats. And then in his last 30 games, but they haven't played 30 games yet this year, so just on the season, he has 20 total hits in 83 at-bats. And I believe only 3 of them are extra base hits. Yeah, 2 doubles and 1 triple on the season. But he's walked 8 times, once intentionally. The strikeouts are starting to catch up to him a bit, though. And then he got caught stealing on the bases today, and the throw by Chadwick Tromp, the catcher, was about as accurate as a throw you could have made. It wasn't necessarily the strongest throw, but it was thrown at such an accuracy that Guillorme, the second baseman, Luis Guillorme, basically just had to let his glove kind of tail into Wyatt's body as it's sliding into second base. I'll close Wyatt Watch with this. I'm not going to freak out. It's April. But at the same time, I do think slow playing him maybe for the rest of this month could do him some good. Give him a little rest. He was just drafted last year. He is just out of college, and he's made this big league roster. We don't need to rush anything when it comes to Wyatt. I am impatient, like the rest of you, to see it fully come to fruition and get the Wyatt that we saw in spring training. But we're going to be patient, and it's going to get there. It's going to come. I can feel it. All right, so as we wrap up this edition, was there something else that I wanted to hit on while I was here? No, I don't think so. I will reiterate again, Jack Leiter, after the 1 start, he was sent down, and then they called up Owen White in his place, just another arm for the bullpen. Oh, now I remember what I was going to hit on. Yeah. I was going to hit on the injuries. I teased it so much, I might as well get to it. So 2 important rehab assignments on deck or coming up soon for the Rangers. The biggest one probably being Max Scherzer, who's yet to pitch this year. recovering from the back surgery that he had this offseason. He's expected to start a rehab assignment this upcoming week. So this was put the word out on Saturday. So he's probably going to be facing some minor league pitching in just a few days. I would imagine in Round Rock. I'm not sure where they're going to send him. But then the other part of it is Josh Sborz is eligible to return as soon as Tuesday, as he was battling back from a rotator cuff strain. Remember when he was, I think it was against the Cubs that he was taken out due to the shoulder pain. It'll be good to have Josh back. That just adds another reliable arm in the back end of the bullpen, and then you're not just relying on Jose Leclerc, David Robertson, and Kirby Yates, and you can weave back in Josh Sborz, who, pitched some really high leverage innings in the postseason, and if anything, can take some of the stress off of particularly Robertson and Yates, who have been awesome to start the year, and we'd like to keep it that way, of course. Now I remember there was one other thing that I wanted to hit on before we look ahead at this upcoming Mariners series. Jordan Montgomery made his debut for the Diamondbacks on Friday. 6 innings, 4 hits, a run allowed, and 3 strikeouts and no walks. It was about as Jordan Montgomery of a game as we were going to get, right? We talked about it at the beginning of the season after he signed with the Diamondbacks. We've made it clear as to the biggest reason as to why they likely did not attempt to re-sign him. But I tell you, given everything that this bullpen and this rotation has had to deal with injury-wise to start the year, boy, would that have been nice to have right now. Just an automatic stopper. I don't even think he threw that many pitches. I don't have the pitch count on the graphic I'm looking at, but I was watching a little bit of that game on Friday. I was flipping back and forth, and after the Rangers were done, I was fully locked into watching Jordan Montgomery, because with Apple TV Plus, those were both of the games that night. And he looked like the Jordan Montgomery that had been dominant for the Rangers when they acquired him. Still pitching primarily out of the stretch, still mixing his pitches very well, forcing a lot of ground ball outs, and he's working deep into games, which would have been nice in terms of saving this bullpen. I don't think we're going to harp on Jordan Montgomery's season too much. I think it's going to feel differently once Cody Bradford comes back from injury, once Max Scherzer comes back. Like when all those guys come back from injury, we're not going to stress about how Jordan Montgomery is doing for Arizona that much anymore. But right now, it's very much man, that would be nice to have. But it's okay. Just thought I would pass it along. That's all. All right, let's wrap up this edition and let's look ahead. So tomorrow, Monday, I'm recording this Sunday night, is going to be an off day for Texas, and boy, did they need it. They finished this 17-game gauntlet, 17 games in 17 days, including 3 separate road stops, 8-9. And their record on the year is now 12-11, and they are still first place in the American League West. We haven't been doing a lot of standings check-ins. I know it's early in the year, but I think we're going to start increasing checking in on the standings, especially as the calendar turns. So tomorrow, the 22nd, is a day off for Texas, and boy, do they need it. And then they're going to have 6 home games in a row before a day off again on Monday, the 29th, before they have another home game, another home series set up. So it's an awkward homestand. So they'll have 3 different series, but they're going to have a day off in between the first 2 and then the last series against the Nationals. But these 3 upcoming, these are super important. American League West division games. The Seattle Mariners, who, if I'm not mistaken, are second in the American League West, just took 2 out of 3 against the Colorado Rockies. That's not hard to do. They're coming into town, and it's going to be an important series in terms of establishing dominance in the West. As we talked about it, the Astros already have the advantage over the Rangers in terms of tiebreaker, because they've taken 4 out of the 7 games from Texas to start the year. So if you want to keep that in mind this early in the year, thinking about the end of the year, you got to win these games. You got to at least go 2 out of 3 against your division rivals. Otherwise, it could set you back and put you in a tough spot should it come down to tiebreakers at the end of the year. Looking at the projected pitching matchups, as I emphasized, I don't think we're going to have an idea of who's going to pitch for Texas and maybe not for, as it turns out, we do have the scheduled starters ready to go as I'm looking at it right now. So how about that? There you go. You wait till the end of the podcast, you get the scheduled starters. Logan Gilbert against Dane Dunning. That'll be on Tuesday. So that should be a pretty good matchup given Dunning's stats to start the year and Logan Gilbert, the number 2 option in that Mariners rotation. Bryce Miller, who's one of the young right-handed studs that they have, he'll go against Jon Gray. So Jon will get a couple more days off, full rest before pitching on Wednesday. And then the Thursday getaway day, the Mariners, I should say, throwing their ace, Luis Castillo, who's not had a great ace start to the year. He's 1-4 with a 4.40 ERA. But going against Andrew Heaney, who could really use a bounce-back start after getting roughed up against the Braves a couple days ago. And again, I don't think I can emphasize it enough. Those games are super duper important for Texas when it comes to standings and tiebreakers when we get through the end of the year. Mariners coming in at 11-11, just a half game behind the Rangers. So if you're thinking about it from standings perspective, it matters right then and now too, as well. And that's going to do it for this edition of Believe in Texas Rangers. We will be back after the Mariners series is complete. So we will tape again on Thursday evening, recap the Mariners series, and then get you ready for the Cincinnati Reds coming to town. That's a fun team to watch and talk about right now. So upcoming, the next game will be on Tuesday, and we'll talk again on Thursday night. So until then, believe in Texas Rangers.